Okay, hello everyone, and welcome back to World of Tanks Blitz. And today we're going to be doing a tank comparison episode, and this time we're going to be comparing the Mark VI Churchill to the Mark VIII Churchill, which is the new Tier 6 heavy premium British tank. As with all of the other previous tank comparisons, we are going to go over the tanks and I'll give my opinions on why I think one is better than the other, and then I'll show some gameplay, and there will be a link to the gameplay in the description down below if that's all you're interested in. So we are going to be taking a look at the Mark 7 compared to the Mark 6 tanks, and just to make it fair, I will put them both on the same equipment loadout for this direct comparison. In the gameplay, I don't actually have these tanks equipped exactly like this. I have them equipped as I normally would. However, that's only changing around one or two equipment modules. So we're going to compare the Mark 6 to the Mark 8. What is the main difference? Well, the main difference is that the Mark 8 has got a 95mm close support howitzer on it, whereas the Mark 6 has got its 75mm gun. And the question is, obviously, which is better in my opinion? And hands down, it is the Mark 6 Churchill. I just find this one to be better in survivability, firepower, and mobility. So why do I think that? Well, let's start off with survivability. And obviously, this is my opinion. Yours can obviously change if you're entitled to your own opinion. This is just, in my opinion, which is better. So the Mark 8 Churchill here, both of them, I'll tell you this now, both of them have got 1200 HP. We come, however, to the stats of the armour. 152 frontal turret and hull for the Mark 8. We got 95 side and rear hull with 76 rear turret, 51 rear hull. So bear those numbers in mind as we move over to the Mark 6. And we have a look at the stats. Obviously 1200 HP, 176 frontal hull and frontal turret, 95 side turret, 76 side hull, 95 rear, 51 rear for the hull. And I didn't look at the view ranges because, it's Blitz view ranges. So what does this mean? Well, it means that overall from the front, the Mark 6 is a lot stronger, especially in terms of the turret. Now, technically, you can argue that the 176 frontal armour of the Mark 6 Churchill is only concentrated here around this machine gun port. It's not actually covering the front of the hull. Which, okay, that's a valid point. It's the same as the Mark 1 Churchill Tier 5, which I'm not actually going to get out here, but it's the same argument that can be made for the Mark 1 Churchill. Okay, even if we take that away, I'm pretty sure the raw armour thickness of the Mark 6 Churchill right here is also 152, which, okay. They both then therefore got 152mm frontal hull. However, frontal turret of the Mark 6 is still stronger raw compared to the frontal turret armour of the Mark 8. Now, 152mm of frontal armour is still good, especially at Tier 6. Tier 6, 152 front armour, that's very strong. 176 front for the Mark 7, Mark 6 is really good. Plus, I'm pretty sure this little gun mantlet cover here does count as spaced armor, I believe. At least last I checked. Now you can also make the argument that the Mark 8 Churchill does have better side scraping capabilities due to the fact that it is 95 side hull, which is also again a valid point. However, in general, I have to say that at least frontally on, the Mark 6 is a far superior Churchill. Especially when you consider going hull down. If you're going hull down, 176 raw frontal armour is better than 152 raw frontal armour. So the Mark 6 is better in terms of frontal turret and technically frontal hull. It is worse in side hull, but it is the same in side turret, and it is better at rear turret, which is not something to completely discount. It is still something, and they are the same in rear hull. So to me at least, the Mark 6 has got better all-round armour in comparison to the Mark 8. Okay then, so say you don't care about armour. and instead you want a very mobile Churchill for whatever reason. You really want your Churchill to feel like a racing car, in which case the Mark VI takes it as well. Because if we have a look at the mobility stats of the Mark VIII, 22 average speed kilometers an hour, 11.3 power to weight ratio, horsepower per ton, 25.5 degrees per second turret traverse, 29.72 hull traverse with a 460 horsepower engine, and this is using the engine accelerator. Sorry. If we then look at the Mark VI, also with engine accelerator on, and we have a look at the mobility, 20 average speed kilometers an hour, 12.1 power to weight horsepower per ton ratio, 24.3 degrees per second turret, 29.7 degrees hull traverse with a 483 horsepower engine. So the Mark 8 does have higher top speed by 2 kilometers an hour. However, the Mark 6 has got nearly 1 horsepower per ton better power to weight ratio, which doesn't sound like a lot, but it is for mobility in terms of getting around the battlefield. While yes, it does have a slower average speed, that power to weight and that hull traverse makes it a lot easier to get into a position quicker than it does for a Mark 8 Churchill. Neither of them are race cars. Yeah, both of them are very slow and not very good at, moving because they're Churchills. However, the Mark 6 is just a superior tank in terms of mobility compared to the Mark 8 because of that horsepower per ton ratio. It means that you can more easily get up slopes, you can more easily get around the battlefield. There's just a lot more you can do with the Mark 6 Churchill that you can't do as easily with the Mark 8. So, okay, let's say you don't care about mobility. You knew that the Churchill was going to be slow. It wasn't going to be a particularly mobile tank. The only thing you're really outpacing is a Blasteroid or a Tog or another Churchill. So, okay, say that you don't care about mobility and you don't care about armor. Instead, you care about firepower. Which is the better tank in terms of firepower? Well, it's still the Mark 6. There are some things that the Mark 6 loses out on, obviously. There's very few cases of premium tanks having far superior guns to another premium tank of the same type. And we are, after all, comparing a howitzer here to a 75mm gun. But in most cases that matter, at least, when I say most cases that matter, at least in a lot of cases, the Mark 6's gun is better than the howitzer that's mounted on the Mark 8. Now, the Mark 8 does already have problems with its howitzer that does put it in a lower footing to the Mark 6. It is a howitzer, which means it's got a lower muzzle velocity, which means it's going to take you longer to get your shot onto target. They could move, they could see your shot, react to it. There's a lot that could happen with the slow muzzle velocity, as well as the penetration decrease over distance. However, if we ignore that fact and we just look at the stats that are presented to the player in this view, so we have here the quick-fire 95mm on the Mark 8. It's got with the same equipment loadout as the Mark 6 currently has. And if we have a look here, it's got a 3.2 second aim time, which isn't too bad at all, especially for a howitzer. 0.32 accuracy, which, yeah, really good for a howitzer as well. Not quite 1900 DPM, with an 8.6 second reload time, 155 average pen with AP, 220 with heat, 50 with HE, 270 average damage with AP, 220 HE, heat, 350 with HE, and a 5 degrees of gun depression. Okay, so these stats, they're really not that bad. These are very acceptable stats for any gun, let alone a howitzer. Obviously, you are losing out in the fact that you do not have APCR, you do have heat, and you have the slow muzzle velocity and whatnot. But in general, these are not bad stats at all, especially for Tier 6. These are actually very good stats in the gun. And then we have a look at the Mark 6 Churchill. Okay, and we have a look at the gun here. It's a 75mm Mark 5C gun. It's a tier 5 gun on a tier 6 tank. It's not particularly great, however, still 3.2 second aim time, which, yeah, really good. 0.27 accuracy. It is laser-like. There are very, very few guns that have this amount of accuracy. Even some tier 10, a lot of tier 10 and tier 9 tank destroyers do not have accuracy as good as this. This is incredible accuracy. And it's got 2100, over 2.1k DPM with a 4.5 second reload time, 145 average pen with AP, 202 with APCR, 38 with HE, 160 average damage with AP, 135 with APCR, 200 with HE, and it does have 6 degrees of gun depression. So, okay, what you're losing out here is you're losing out on 10mm of average pen with AP, which isn't that big of a discrepancy. It's still pretty low for tier 6. However, for comparison, something like the Tiger Kuro has also got 145mm of pen. So it's definitely a livable amount of pen. You're not necessarily struggling with 145mm of pen. And obviously it is losing out on average damage because it's a smaller caliber shell. It's obviously going to do less damage regardless of what the other stats are. So okay, what you've got here is you've got the same aim time, better dispersion, better DPM, better reload time, better gun depression for 10mm less pen, and obviously lower average damage because it's a smaller shell. In every other stat here beyond these two, which, this one isn't even particularly that bad, in every other stat, the Mark 6 is superior to the howitzer of the Mark 8. If I was to set this up as I would normally run it, which is with calibrated shells in order to get the AP up, in order to get the penetration up rather, and I was to change it for a vert stab, which is how I would normally run a Mark 6 instead of what I did for the comparison. If I was to do this and show you the new stats, we have got better aim time than the Mark 8. We've got the same dispersion. We still have superior DPM. We still have a superior reload time. We now have superior penetration. And we've still got that superior gun depression. In every stat still, it is either the same or better than the Mark 8's howitzer. And it also doesn't have the low muzzle velocity of the howitzer, which means it doesn't have that debuff either. So once again, here are the stats. 155 average pen, which is 2 lower than the calibrated shells Mark 6. Better average damage because it is a larger caliber shot. 1 degree less gun depression. 5 degrees is still not very good. 6 degrees isn't still particularly good, but it is still 1 degree less, so it is technically still worse than... Yeah, I was complaining about the 5 degrees of gun depression in, I think, the Type 58. So yeah, it still isn't helping its case here. 5 degrees is still worse than 6 degrees. If we're just taking raw numbers, it is still worse. So it's got worse aim time than the Vert Stabs Churchill Mark 6. It's got basically the same dispersion by, maybe better by like 0.001 or 2 or something, which is negligible at that point. It's still got about 200 less DPM. It's still got a worse reload time. And yeah, it's still got worse AP pen. And it still has worse better HE, better heat pen, and obviously higher alpha. But even so, in every other stat, regardless of what setup you're using, the Mark 6 is better in gun stats than it is to the Mark 7. The only thing that you're getting with the Mark 8, the only thing you're getting with the Mark 8 is the higher alpha damage. That's really your only thing. Which means, in summary, in my opinion, the Mark 6 has got better armor, it's got better mobility, and it's got a better gun, which makes this thing far better to the Mark 8. Yes, there are some things that the Mark 8 does better, such as it does have, better side armor for side scraping, and yes, it does have higher higher alpha damage, and yes, without calibrated shells, it does have technically higher penetration. However, in every other aspect, apart from top speed, the Mark 6 is superior with the same equipment loadout. And I am also using the same provisions as well. If you look down here, I'm using tea and pudding, tea, and 105 octane fuel or whatever it's called. So I'm using the same provisions and the same consumables, which don't make a difference, and I obviously have the same crew, blah blah blah. Which means that in every aspect that is important, the Mark VI is better. It even has slightly better protection for the tracks because it's only missing one track guard instead of the both track guards that the Mark VIII is losing. So yeah, there's also that, but that doesn't really factor into my decision. In my opinion, the Mark VI is superior in every way you could possibly need. If you have the option between the Mark VI in the shop and the Mark VIII in the shop and you only have enough gold for one of them, get the Mark VI. It really is no contest. The Mark VI is just superior in most aspects to the Mark VIII. However, you're not quite convinced. So let's show you a couple of battles here. So I do have a couple of replays here. One of them is the Mark VIII in the Fort Despair, one of them is the Mark VI on Vineyards. And I will show you the Fort Despair replay first with the Mark VIII. Neither of them are particularly outstanding games, however they're good enough to show you the differences in the tanks. They're decently all-round at least. And we do win in Fort Despair, do not win on Vineyards. This replay, last time I tried to record this, was a bit buggy, so please do excuse if there is a delay in my tracking, because it's just the replay file. I think I had some lag in this game at the start, which has messed up with the replay, unfortunately, so if it's not quite as smooth in tracking, I'll just have to make do and show you. So we're here on Fort Despair. It is a tier 6 game. I'm going over to point C along with this WZ because I'm expecting the KV2. We meet more than just the KV2. In fact, there's our first customer. There's the Bassetto. And here he comes, like into his thing. There's the KV2. I do put a shot straight through the KV2, and he nicely bounces off us as well. There's the delay in the replay. I come around the corner. I try and put a shot into the Bassetto here, but unfortunately it goes directly into the pile there. The KV2 is obviously reloading. He has activated his engine power boost. WZ goes forwards. I come around the corner, put a shot right into the engine of the Bassetto, which destroys it. And I'm trying to get the kill on the Bassetto, which leaves me open to the KV2, puts a shot right into the side of my turret, and to make matters worse, insult to injury, I don't even kill the Bassetto. However, coming around the corner, I do aim up to put a shot straight into the lower glacis there of the KV2, which does injure his driver. However, he has healed him, but it doesn't matter because the WZ gets the kill anyway. So, okay. I decide to finish capping the point since I'm already here. I have lost over half my health to the KV2. Which is, you know, an annoyance. Anyway, the medium tanks are all over here. There's that Type 58, there's the Panzer. And initially I'm thinking, you know what, I'll flank around because, you know, they're engaged with these guys. However, I spot something, or somebody spots something, that changes my opinion on that, and it is that low health Fury. And so I think, you know what, let's go around the corner. Let's go around this way and try and get them from the side, because I'm hoping that they're being covered. For those guys, unfortunately though, they both get finished off, which means, well, I'm too slow to turn around, I decide, and so I decide to continue moving forward. The WZ has already put my shot into the Wolverine. Even if I had turned around, the Wolverine is dead anyway before I could have got there. Panzer IV, I'm just too slow to put a shot into him there, as you saw. My shot goes straight into his dead hull. I then get spotted. There's Type 58. We were wondering where he is. I put a nice shot straight through the front of him. Unfortunately, my HE pen isn't enough to get through him, and he gets killed before I can reload, because there's that 8-second reload time. So, not too bad of a game. It's definitely not the greatest of games. You know, I've not played this tank enough to get some really, really high, you know, games. But we did get at least a bunch of ribbons, which is pretty cool. 640 damage blocked because of that KV2, which is very nice, showing the strong side armor of it. Bassetto, we did destroy his engine. We injured the driver of the KV2, and we just did some assistance damage on the Type 58. Strangely enough, we didn't get any assist damage on the Bassetto by the looks of it. Yeah, only one assist damage on the Type 58, which is rather strange, but still 7 shots fired, 4 hits, 4 pens, 3 damages, no kills, and we ended up actually spotting 3 tanks, which is kind of interesting there. But yeah, I was second on the team in terms of damage dealt and XP earned, which is pretty cool. Obviously, the WZ was top. Their KV2 was top of their team with his 1 penetrating shot into my tank. It's kind of ironic then. But yeah, so that is the Fort Despair Mark 8. So now we come into a Mark 6 game, and bearing in mind this is an up tier. We have been up tiered into tier 7 in this game here on Vineyards. So yeah, it's an up tier. I wasn't too happy about it. There was a BZ, which I don't think I've ever fought before. So yeah, they have a BZ, they have an M41D, there's that T34-2, Skoda, you know, bunch of stuff on their team. So coming over here, I decided to head into the town because that's sort of the heavies area. Is this replay also lagging? That's kind of an annoyance. But yeah, so there's the Tiger. The Tiger, for some reason, doesn't come into the town with me. He stays there for most of the game, and that will cost us a lot. But the rest of the team is going over there towards the actual vineyardy bit. I head over here, over the bridge. The SU sort of goes ahead of me. And then as we're progressing into the town, somebody gets spotted over there by the IS-2. I also get spotted, but luckily I'm in cover. There's that M41. I snap a shot. Unfortunately, it only damages his track. It doesn't blow it off. And yeah, he's into cover behind ruins, and I can't do anything. So yeah, unfortunate. The SU has moved forwards and is being completely and utterly destroyed. However, there's that Type 58, and I put 1 nice shot straight through him. He blows off my track, but because of my strong frontal armor, nothing happens to me. He just damages my track. I'm trying some blind shots on him because I think he's still over there. I get shot for 200, then I get shot for 280, so I think, okay, he's got a friend, let's back it up. Start to side scrape, turn around, my frontal armor is protecting me. That's a PCR right there, which has bounced straight off me very nicely. He's still trying to shoot me, but here's my pretty fast reload time and my high pen. I'm running calibrated shells with this one, so I do have 157 millimeters of penetration, which is easily enough to get me straight through his frontal armor. And we have just done a bunch of damage. Look at that, nearly 600 damage on that Type 58, which is very nice. I push forwards because I'm trying to see if I can spot anyone or if I can find somebody to shoot at. There's that BZ, and I do actually push out a little bit here to try and get him. There's that 40 TP coming, and he kills the SU. Snap a nice shot into the BZ, and we get another blind shot. Nope, never mind, he's just been spotted. Here comes that 40 TP, which, yeah, I'm not very happy about. I tried to side scrape, put a nice shot into him, but unfortunately, yeah, he can get straight through me. Fortunately, not quite fast enough to kill that Type 58. If I had been running gun rammer, I could have got him, but unfortunately not. Not that it will make too much of a difference in the long run. Trying here to side scrape and defend against the 40 TP. Bounce a 280 shot from, I think that's the T34. Fortunately, another shot from the 40 TP does go straight through. And finally, the Tiger has decided to come forwards now that he's sensed an easy kill. Unfortunately, here comes that T34, and yeah, nothing I'm doing. Nothing I can do, even with my 176mm of frontal armor, is going to stop me against this guy. And unfortunately, he uses his applique armor, which nerfs some of my damage, but I do get a nice lower glacis shot into him. And yeah, he's just going straight through my frontal armor like it is nothing, unfortunately. One more nice shot into him, but yeah, he just goes straight through me because he is a tier 8 tank. So there's that Hellcat, and I'm now spectating the Tiger because what is this man doing? What actually is he doing? He's rubbing up against this BZ, he's being surrounded. If he had come into the town with us, this probably might not have happened. He wouldn't have been surrounded, but yeah, he is going to die to all of these guys, and yeah, it is just this Sperrpanzer. This Sperrpanzer is our only hope, and spoilers, he's not going to win the game for us. Unfortunately for us. Initially, because he was just sat there not doing anything, I thought he was AFK, maybe he'd crashed out of the game. But no, he was in fact just sat there trying to spot things, and yeah, well, he's come up against the Skoda, and there's the box tank. He takes one shot into him, he takes another shot from the box tank, and he bounces off the Skoda. and yeah, he's really not having a particularly good time with it. I'm just sort of facing my tank away because I don't want to watch his impending doom, but here he is, dead, next to the Hellcat. So, yeah, unfortunately, we didn't win that one. Um, yeah, if that tiger had actually, pushed up into the town with us, maybe. But unfortunately, that was not, in fact, the case. 17 shots fired, 13 hits, 13 pens, 5 damages, 0 kills. We did get 2 10 assist damage from somebody. 1 spot, nearly 1700 damage done, 1653 damage dealt. We did block 1,355 damage, which is very good. We did receive 7 pens out of 11 shots that hit us. We did, however, bounce a bunch of shots, including a PCR from that Type 58, which is, very important. So, yeah, there's that 40 TP, damaged and destroyed his track. There's the assist damage that we somehow got from destroying his track. Injured the driver of this guy, damaged the track of the M41D, and then the other guys we just did damage on. Yeah, unfortunately we couldn't win this game, but even in an up tier, we were still top of the team. The Tiger somehow came second on the team, which I don't think he particularly deserved, but poor old SU-100M1 just sort of died in the town, which yeah, it's not particularly great for him. But yeah, so that is 2 separate games in these Churchills, and even though we lost the game in the Mark 6, it was still a far more fun game than the game in the Mark 8. Just that more quick fire, good penetration gun with great accuracy and aim time of the Mark 6 was just far better than the long reload time, slow muzzle velocity of the Mark 8. As much as I enjoy howitzers and their characteristics and their high alpha damage, the Mark 6 is just a far superior gun on a far superior tank. So yeah, in general, the Mark 6 has got better armor, it's got better mobility, and it's got a better weapon. In pretty much every aspect, it is superior to the Mark 8. So if you have a chance, get the Mark 6. If you only have enough gold or money to get one of them and you really want to get a Churchill that isn't the Tech Tree Mark 7, get the Mark 6. It is just the better tank. If you really, really, really want to, get the Mark 8 like I did. I didn't know any of these stats before I got it, so I was experiencing this firsthand, as any of you might if you bought this tank without watching this video or any reviews. Just get the Mark 6. It comes on sale relatively often as far as I can tell, and it's relatively affordable in terms of its gold price, and yeah, it's just a really good heavy tank and a really good Churchill. So yeah, don't get that, get this. And that is my official stance on the Mark 6 versus the Mark 8. So yeah, I will thank you all for watching, and goodbye.